Okay, we're going to run through just fitting the selectors in this little tractor in the 65. Now, something I would like to show you is this is the selector out of the 35, the 6-speed MF35. It's nice and, well, it looks okay. I'll just pop my head in there for a second. Exact same part number as in the 65, and here's the 65 one. So you can see all the gouges through here, the wear through there, and exact same part number. So that little tractor certainly got us out of the can. So we just got to slide that in place. Now, the first one I like to put in, these are the selector rods. Now, the rods, I probably should show you. The rods in the 65 have been all welded up and ground out with a bloody angle grinder. And so anyway, the 35 saved the day once more. So now, I like to put this middle one in first. And the reason being is if you put this outside one in first, it sits across and you can't then get that shaft in. So if you put the middle one in first, that will fix that problem. You haven't got to worry about it too much. So look, this is as simple as lining that up through there, line the hole up, get your bolt here, tighten him up. Now there is a hole in here to wire them in place, which I will do, but I probably won't fiddle with that while the camera's running, but I'll show you at the end of the video, and that's nice and firm. Okay, this next one, same thing. So try and get the hole lined up. Now to get the hole lined up, this top piece here will be nice and flat, because that sits there, so it sits up the other way, but that's just a way of making sure it's nice and flat. And I can't actually stick my head over there because it'll be in the road of the camera. So once again, we'll just run these down. Now these screws here, they seem to be interchangeable with the ones in the bell housing to hold the throw out forward, so that's a good thing. Okay, so we come to this little piece here, and that's your lockout. Now what your lockout does is this fella sits down into there like that, and all the shafts have a flat on them. This one has two, your high-low, has a flat on them, and this sits down in there to stop it. You know, if a screw comes out or something like that, stops the shaft coming out way too far. So at this stage we should put that bloody camera right there. Hang on a second. I'll try and turn that camera around where you can see the whole show once more. Dopey bugger. Okay, so this bloke comes in through. Now, this is your high-low. So now you have your normal detents there that line up with the detents up here. And this flat here, that lines up with your safety start switch up the front there. So your safety start switch in neutral, it sits there, but if you're either way, as in low or high, the switch rides up there. So, and the little trick I like to do with this one is when you get it up there just about ready to rock and roll, I drop it down over the, what's that, 1, 2, first reverse one. I drop it down over there, and then I can actually see, I can see the hole through here to get it all lined up. These shafts have still got a bit of a rusty stain on them. That has no bearing on how they'll work at all. Okay, so now that turns that way and your high-low selector goes there. The other fellas run through here. We don't have to put this one on just yet. We can put it on in a minute or two. Now, if we have a look at the dents, the relief in the shaft there, this fella here won't go in. Not a chance. Yet if we put him down the middle there, if I can get my fat fingers out of the way. If we put him in the middle, say pull him right across this way, that lets that shaft move, but this one can't. So if it slides across that way, that lets this shaft move. So there's enough room in there for it to slide one way and shift the shafts, but there's not enough room to pick two gears up at once. And that's a safety thing built into them all. So all we need to do there is slide that in, line those fellas up for the exercise. Bring this fella up. Pick up the bolt I dropped off onto the floor. And they just have a 3/8 bolt with a spring washer on them, and that's it. Now I just went and got myself a nice 9/16 spanner for this job, and who would know what I did with it. But now with that in place, it'll slide across and let us move one and not the other. See, we can move this one, and when we bring this one back, say that's in gear, we can't move that one. So hopefully I've just showed how that works. I'd be a lot happier if I knew what I did with that spanner. Well, there you go. I'd tell you that I was sitting on it on the stool there, but I'd look like a dickhead, so I won't tell you that. Okay, so our high-low goes back and forth. This fella goes back and forth. Then when we bring him to neutral, line that detent up. This one can go back and forth. I've probably got to turn the gearbox a bit just to get it to get him to line up like that. That's lovely, tell your mother. Okay. Now I'll put those 9/16 spanners on the bench, so if I'm looking for them later, you fellas tell me that, eh? Okay. Whoop, just kick the camera again. Okay, so this is the coupler that drives the pinion at the back there. So this high-low sits on there. So if we line this fella up, line this up at the same time, Whoop, and then it drops on the floor. Okay, so just a bit stuck in the detent. There we go. Usually when it's about level with the back there, your bolt will go in. And you can see that just turning a little bit. This is lining up. Okay, all ready to wire in. The detents go down in here, that's these little fellas. They go down the holes. But I'll do that when I come to the part about putting the steering box on with the gear levers and things like that. I'll tidy this up. Now, this shaft here, this is off the 35 again. It's just got far less wear than the 65 one had. But what I'd like to show you is the drive couplers. Now, if you look on the end of this shaft, you can actually see a mark where the split pin's gone. It's gone there for one time, it's gone there another. It looks like it's been off a couple of times. And the split pin in the coupler, this one pushes back to the diff, and then this fella lines up there, and that holds tension on everything, and away you go. Now, this is the 35 one, and this is the 65 one. You can see the difference here. They're both 5 inches long, 10 spline, and this one here on the 65, you'll notice that the groove is not as deep as the groove in the 35 one. Now, this is called a shear tube, and this is the weak link in your drive system. So if you can feel in through there, and probably through there it's only 3 millimeters thick, I imagine. And what the idea is, it's a safety thing. Save you popping teeth off the crown wheels and pinions and things like that. This will shear. It'll shear off, and it'll shear off there as well on the 65 one. Now, up to serial number 568,000, I think, the 35 and the 65 shared the same coupler. After that, the 65 went to a 4-inch one, a slightly shorter one, and then when they went to the 165 again, they went back to the 5-inch one, but it wasn't relieved here so much. And the later one that did the 165, it did the 175, 178 and all that, so it was up for a lot more horsepower. So with ours here, that end is not too bad, but look at this end here. So there's the splines for comparison. So this is chewed to buggery. And because I'm in the serial number break, I could use this one. No worries at all. But look, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the later 165 one in. Now, a little chat about this is that if you have a 35, 65, 165, right through the 100 series to 188, 135, they all have this coupler on them. And if you're driving your tractor one day and it's fine, and you're down the paddock and she just stops driving, pop the side cover off and have a look at this. Now, I've had them where this pin, the split pin that goes through, that split pin there, I've had them that they've just worn that out and that's fallen out, and this can slide forward enough. It's only got to come probably probably about that far, 1.25 inches. It's only got to come forward 1.25 inches up this shaft, which it can do quite easily if the pin's not there to hold it in place. So it can come up there, and all of a sudden the drive to your rear pinion's gone. So have a look at this. So it can be two things happened. You do see these shear off, not common. Yeah, you can put a fair bit of horsepower through these and it doesn't seem to matter. Yet the more common fault I've seen is this split pin here. It's just worn out with time, you know, because it sits, because that's all that stops it coming right forward. It gets a little bit of movement in there, and the pin wears out. So yeah, look, just keep that in mind. I thought I'd mention it in this video. This shaft just slides up the back of the high-low there, and I'll put that over on the bench so it doesn't fall down the hole. That'll be a good idea, Lance. And then the high-low, that just comes down and yeah, locks the transmission in there. So that'll be high forward here, and that'll be low, and that's why I can't turn the low, because the gear reduction there is a bit over me. So there you go. I'll wire these up, and look, I probably won't need to show you that. You know what I'm doing with wiring them up. All I actually use is a little piece of soft oxy welding wire, and it's just got to stop them from turning. Like back in the day, I imagine they might have Loctited them in if it was a later era. But we'll just wire them up, and yeah, that's just how to assemble your selectors in your 6-speed gearbox.